First, encryption. Let's start here because encryption is the reason you can buy things online without crying. Encryption takes your data, say your credit card number, and scrambles it into complete gibberish. It looks like this. If a hacker steals it mid-flight, that's all they get. Only the person with the right key can unscramble it. It's like writing a diary in a secret language your little sibling can't read. Second, VPN, Virtual Private Network. A VPN is like a private tunnel for your internet traffic. Normally, your internet provider can see every website you visit. A VPN routes your connection through a secure server somewhere else, maybe another country, and encrypts everything. To the outside world, it looks like you're in that server's location. It's great for privacy on public Wi-Fi, and yes, it's also how people watch Netflix shows that aren't available in their country. I'm not here to judge. Third, firewall. Imagine a bouncer standing at the door of your computer. That's a firewall. It has a list of rules. Allow video games, allow Zoom calls, block that random program trying to phone home to Russia at 3 a.m. It monitors every packet of data trying to enter or leave and decides if it gets in. Windows and Mac have them built in. Don't turn them off. Fourth, two-factor authentication, 2FA. Passwords are dumb. We all use password 123 or our dog's name. 2FA fixes that. After you type your password, the site says, okay, now prove it's you by typing the code we just texted your phone. So even if a hacker steals your password, they can't get in without your physical phone. It's a cheap, effective way to stop most attacks. Fifth, multi-factor authentication, MFA. MFA is just the fancy older sibling of 2FA. It means using two or more different types of verification. Something you know, password, something you have, your phone, or something you are, your fingerprint. The more layers, the harder it is for someone to pretend to be you. Sixth, antivirus. Antivirus software is like a guard dog that sits on your computer and barks at known bad guys. It has a list of wanted criminals, virus signatures, and whenever a file matches one, it locks it up. Modern antivirus is smarter now. It also watches how programs behave. If Word starts trying to delete system files, the antivirus goes, hey, that's suspicious. Seventh, vulnerability. A vulnerability is just a flaw. It's a crack in the sidewalk. The software developer wrote some code that has a tiny mistake, and that mistake creates an opening. Every program has them. The question is whether the bad guys find it first or the good guys do. Eighth, exploit. An exploit is the tool or technique used to walk through that crack. If the vulnerability is an unlocked window, the exploit is the stick you use to push it open. Hackers either write their own exploits or buy them on the black market. Ninth, payload. Once the exploit gets you through the window, the payload is what happens next. It's the actual malware delivered to your system. The exploit is the delivery method. The payload is the bomb. Could be ransomware, spyware, or just a prank that flips your screen upside down. 10th, backdoor. A backdoor is exactly what it sounds like. A secret entrance that bypasses the front gate. Sometimes programmers leave backdoors intentionally to fix things later. Bad practice. Sometimes hackers install them after breaking in so they can come back whenever they want without going through security again. 11th, logic bomb. This is malicious code that waits. It sits dormant on a system until a specific condition triggers it, like when my name is removed from the employee database, delete all files. Disgruntled employees sometimes set these before quitting. It's digital petty revenge. 12th, patch. Remember vulnerabilities? When the good guys find them, they write a fix. That fix is called a patch. It's a band-aid for your software. When your computer says update and restart, those updates often contain patches for security holes. If you keep ignoring them, you're leaving the window open. 13th, social engineering. You can have the strongest lock in the world, but it doesn't matter if you just hand the keys to a stranger. Social engineering is manipulating people. It's the hacker calling you, pretending to be from IT and saying, hi, we're doing maintenance. I just need your password real quick. And because they sound nice, people just give it. 14th, OSINT, open source intelligence. OSINT is the art of stalking legally. It's gathering information from public sources. Instagram, LinkedIn, company websites, public records. A hacker might find out your dog's name from your Instagram and guess that's your password. Or find out your company uses specific software and look up vulnerabilities for that exact version. All from public info. 15th, penetration testing. This is the good guys doing the breaking. Companies hire ethical hackers to try to hack them. They attempt to get through the firewall, break into the building, trick employees. At the end, they write a report. Here's how we got in. Fix this stuff before the actual criminals find it. 16th, sandboxing. Sandboxing is like a quarantine zone. If you get a suspicious email attachment, instead of opening it on your real computer, security software opens it in a fake computer, a sandbox. If the file tries to encrypt everything, they go, aha, malware, and delete it while your real computer stays safe. 17th, honeypot. A honeypot is a trap. Security teams set up a fake server that looks valuable but has no real data. It's monitored 24/7. If a hacker touches it, alarms go off. Now the defenders know they have an intruder and can watch their every move without risking real assets. It's bait for hackers. 18th, air gap. This is the ultimate offline mode. An air-gapped computer is physically disconnected from the internet. No Wi-Fi, no Ethernet, no Bluetooth. It's literally separated by air. To hack it, you need physical access. This is used for the most sensitive systems like nuclear plant controls or voting machine test labs. 19th, deep web. The deep web is just anything Google can't find. Your email inbox, deep web. Your bank account statements, deep web. Private company databases, deep web. It's not shady. It's just stuff that requires a login. Most of the internet is actually the deep web. 20th, dark web. The dark web is a small part of the deep web that requires special software like Tor to access. It's intentionally hidden and anonymous. Yes, there are illegal markets there. Drugs, stolen credit cards, hacking tools, but it also hosts whistleblower platforms and privacy tools for people in oppressive countries. It's not inherently evil, but it's definitely where the shady characters hang out. 21st, malware. Malware is the umbrella term. If it's bad and it's software, it's malware. Viruses, ransomware, spyware, they're all just different flavors of the same nasty milkshake. If your computer is acting possessed, you probably have malware. 22nd, ransomware. Ransomware breaks into your computer and locks all your files, photos, documents, everything. Then a pop-up appears. Pay me Bitcoin or your stuff is gone forever. It's digital kidnapping. Hospitals pay these guys. Schools pay. Don't be someone who has to pay. 23rd, phishing. Phishing is when hackers send fake emails pretending to be your bank, Netflix, or boss. Urgent. Verify your account. You click the link, type your password, and now they own you. They're phishing and you're the fish. Don't take the bait. 24th, botnet. A botnet is an army of zombie computers. Hackers infect thousands of random people's PCs and control them remotely. Then they point all those computers at one website and crash it. Your computer could be a soldier in someone else's war right now, and you wouldn't even know. 25th, zero day. A 0 day is a security hole the software company doesn't know exists yet. They've had 0 days to fix it. Hackers find these first and use them to break into anything they want. It's the ultimate sneak attack, and there's zero defense until the company figures it out.